Okay, we'll assume he's not then.
Okay, Bob,
Here.
John,
Here.
Jay,
Here.
Kurt,
Excused.
Nancy,
Yes.
Cindy,
Here.
and Mark.
Here. It's now time for the voluntary Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we get started here, you might have to bear with me a little bit this evening. If I have a coughing attack, we'll just have to take a little break. If I got a cold, I'm just getting over with, so apologize for that. But we're now looking for approval of minutes. We're looking for approval of the meeting minutes of December 8th, 2014. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Member Haverlick, seconded by Member Strand to approve the minutes of the meeting from December 8th. Is there any changes to these minutes? Seeing none, we'll go to the next item on the agenda, item 4. It's for amendment and approval of the meeting agenda this evening. Entertain a motion for that.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Member Greger, seconded by Member Haverlick to approve the meeting agenda this evening. Any discussion, changes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll continue as presented to us here. Item 5, public hearings and bid awards. There's 2 public hearings this evening. First public hearing is on ordinance 2014-22, an ordinance to allow the cutting of green trees on borough land. That's the short title. So, is there anybody? I've just asked Jonathan. You want to talk on that, Jonathan? You're the only one in the audience. Doesn't look like there's any interest in that public hearing this evening. That moves us to the next public hearing is on the acquisition of land at Papke's Landing. I don't see anybody in the audience that wants to talk to that issue either. So we'll move on to visitors' views related to the agenda. And I don't see any hands going up. So we'll move to the next item, views unrelated to the agenda. And there's nobody interested in speaking to that either. So that brings us to board, commission, and committee reports. There's none. Consent agenda, local acknowledgement of the 2015 gaming permit application for the Sons of Norway Lodge, number 23. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the sole item on this evening's consent agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
Been moved by Member Strand, seconded by Member Lagadakis to approve the gaming permit application for the Sons of Norway Lodge, number 23. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Report of other officers. Recycling update. How are we doing and what's next? We're going to have a report from Mr. Hageman, our Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Assembly. What I thought I would do tonight is just, you've already got the report and the results of the survey in your packets, assuming you had the time to read through that. For the public's benefit, I'm just going to go through the report really quickly, just touch on the high points, and then answer any questions after I go get through it. So the reason we're doing this is we started our new commingled recycling program last February, and as we're heading into the budget process, I felt it would be a good idea to see how we're doing, see how the community is accepted the program, gauge successes or failures, and incorporate any changes into the budget development process for next year. And so we put out a survey asking for input from both residential customers and commercial customers on how we're doing. And I'll cover the residential responses first. We had about 8% total of our sanitation customers fill out the survey. 97% of the respondents have been pretty satisfied with the program. So thumbs up so far. Everybody seems to accept it and is enjoying the program. 87% of the residential respondents were satisfied with the amount of information that we put out on the rules and restrictions on the program, although it was clear that we can make improvements on that and put out more information. There's lots of little things in the program that people don't understand. The basics are there, but the small items need more attention, it looks like. We found out that our new collection contractor, Ruger's Trucking, has got a 99% satisfaction rate among the respondents. They're doing an excellent job, not only for the people of the community, but for us in the office. They've been a pleasure to work with. The suggested improvements from the public were wide-ranging, but most were centered on transitioning to a cart-based program away from the bags. Although the bags got a fair amount of support as well, there were requests for changes in delivery of bags, distributing more bags at a time, using better bags, that kind of thing for the bag program. 66 of the respondents on the residential side were supportive of moving to the large carts, which I didn't identify that, so that might have led to some unsurety about, well, what does that mean? And essentially that's a 96-gallon cart, a very large cart with wheels on it, kind of like what you see around town right now. But that might have not been very clear in the survey. So a slight majority of respondents were supportive of a cart rental fee, but there was some confusion, it appeared, on exactly what they'd be paying for because they didn't really know what kind of cart I was talking about. 68% of the respondents favored a weekly collection of garbage and recycling as opposed to alternating weeks. A lot of the concerns fostered this fall by bear hits on garbage, I think, drove that public opinion of that question. The question of mandatory recycling ordinance was supported by 60% of the respondents, but the comments that were opposed to it made a lot of sense. Just the difficulties with enforcing that mandatory ordinance, that it would be hard to do that. Keeping recycling in a positive light, instead of making it something that you have to do, is important to the success of this type of program. So those comments were well received. General comments from the residential side we got a lot of them. This was a great survey. There was a lot of input received, as you'll see in the breakdown. But overall, the approval of the program, the ease of the commingling itself was very much appreciated. There were a lot of requests for clarification of program rules, like I said, the small detail items, asking for additional recycling commodities to be accepted, a few comments about the harbor and wanting to do more recycling in the harbor, either with cardboard or just recycling in general. Looking at the business owner responses, we had a lot fewer business owners respond to the survey, but 92% of those that responded are taking part in the program, and they generally like the program as is, but they haven't made very many changes to their operations to take advantage of the program. It's I think that really pointed out to me an opportunity for improvement of the entire program is to spend time with the business community and try to see what the issues are for them, and that they understand exactly what we're trying to do here. I think there are definitely some opportunities there. A lot of the business report that they have not reduced their garbage service as a result of taking part in the program, which of course is an indication that they don't. There's a disconnect there on reducing your trash in order to reduce your service level and save money. 66% of the business respondents were supportive of moving to a cart or dumpster-based recycling program, but only 54% said they had enough room to store a cart or a dumpster. So that looks like it could be a problem. And 76% of the business respondents were supportive of the mandatory recycling ordinance, but at least one said that was purely based on moving away from the blue bag system. So general comments from the business community were limited, mostly just positive comments that the program has started and looking forward to moving on. So, and generally, just to recap, what did we learn from the survey? The overall sentiment was that the community is happy with the program. It's easy to do, and we got a lot of thanks for putting it in place. While the Blue Bag program did receive a fair amount of support, a change to the cart-based system was an ongoing theme. The collection contractor, Ruger's Trucking, was heartily supported, and I can echo that. Let's see, the opportunities are there for increasing the public knowledge and understanding of the program rules. And the collection scheduling options for recycling may be possible to adjust, but the weekly collection of garbage remains a strong desire of the respondents. Also, in the case of the mandatory recycling ordinance, adjustments to garbage rates to reward recyclers or incentivizing fees for non-participants are a more accepted way of getting participation other than making it mandatory. So that's the results of the survey. We moved on for this report, looked at the program volumes to see how we were doing in comparison to last year. And the first question was, are we seeing an increase in the recycling as a result of the commingle program? And absolutely we are. I looked at a couple different time frames. One was calendar year and one was fiscal year. In the calendar year 2013, we shipped or removed 240 tons of recycles from our waste stream. And as of November 21st of this year, we had removed 360 tons. So we're already at 150% of what we were last year. So we're definitely heading in the right direction, removing a lot more material from the waste stream. The other side of that equation is how are we doing with our solid waste disposal, because we do pay to ship our solid waste out of town right now. And we have seen about a 200-ton drop in our solid waste disposal this calendar year. That I've found is very hard to track because solid waste is not linear from year to year. It goes up and down depending on what's going on with your economy. Big fish years seem to produce more solid waste for us, and there really is, I haven't found it anyway, the right predictor of where we're going to be with solid waste shipments in the course of a year. So part of the reduction can obviously be attributed to the recycling program, but probably not all of it. The recycling rate, just to recap on that, we're shooting for a 30% recycling rate locally by 2017. So far this calendar year, we've achieved a 19.4% rate. That is when you just look at the material that's collected to the curbside, either garbage or recycles. But when you weigh in all the shipments of solid waste that are delivered to the baler, in addition to the curbside, our rate goes down to 16%. So there's definitely room for improvement. We can improve this equation and help ourselves out. I did look at the budget and found some surprising information here. We are paying right now $110 per ton to ship our solid waste. We had budgeted $175,000 to ship, and it looks like we're tracking to spend about $220,000. Again, with solid waste not being linear, that's part of the problem, is that we just can't predict how much solid waste we're going to get in a year. But when we look at the recycling shipments so far, and these numbers are fiscal year, this budget year, the recycling shipments that we've made since July 1st, we have sent 138 tons to Seattle and are basically paying $13.67 a ton for that material. That is a huge difference in what we are paying for solid waste versus recycling. We have spent about $11,000 on blue bags so far this year. That's 30,000 bags. And we have also excuse me. So we're on track. Both the blue bags and the recycling shipments, shipping and recycling, are tied into one budget line item. So that line item is on track to spend $32,000 this fiscal year. We had budgeted $110,000 because I was really ambitious on what I thought we would be shipping, and I thought we'd be paying more to ship recycling. So we are way under budget on that line item. We are paying $7,100 a month to our recycling collection contractor. But the big item that I found in this whole analysis, that we're saving $96 a ton, almost $97 a ton, to ship material from our waste stream as recycles as opposed to solid waste. That's huge. The revenue picture, we had a line item in the sanitation budget to account for revenues from the program. Essentially, the revenues were going to be the rebates received back from public services for their purchase of our recyclables. Well, I didn't realize when the budget was formed that the rebates would be tied to a statement that's basically a net product of the equation that goes into recycling, and so it's too hard to pull that out. So the rebates are actually accounted for in an expense line item, the recycling expenses, as part of the statements that we get from a public. It was a lot more unclear than I thought it would be, but as I said before, out of the $110,000 that was budgeted for recycling expense, we will only spend about $32,000. So we have a $77,000, budget surplus in that line item, and that basically reflects the rebates that we get. I did include a little table in here that just goes over those same numbers again on what we're over and under budget on the program right now because of the reduction or the low cost that we're seeing for the cost for recyclables. We're looking fairly well in the program budget-wise this year. Then looking at the next steps, the reason that I'm going through all this is to try and come up with the next steps and budget for that, plan for it. I looked at a lot of different options and boiled down to three that I wanted to bring forward to the Assembly. First one, of course, is just to continue the way we are now with the blue bags. The program's been accepted. It is working well. Our contractor is doing a great job, and so that should obviously be something we could look at in just moving forward with that. Option two is to move towards the cart-based recycling that seemed to be on everybody's mind in the survey. It is specifically, though, cart-based recycling, but alternating weeks with garbage pickup and then recycling pickup, so that we can bring that service, that collection service, in-house with current staff and current equipment with very little change to our operational expenses. We'll save quite a bit of money on no need to purchase blue bags, and the collection contractor's cost is about $85,000 a year, so we would eliminate that cost as well. It does require us to buy carts at a cost of about $70,000, but that is a one-time purchase, and those carts would last for many years into the future. So one big hit in the budget will set us up for a long time, whereas the bags and the collection contractor recur every year. So there are pros and cons to each one of these. The big con to that whole option is that there was quite a bit of pushback in the survey about people not wanting their stinky garbage to get attacked by bears and spread all over the neighborhood. I understand that, but the cost savings that we see, I think that option still needs to be in consideration. There are probably things that can be done to address that issue. But the option that is number 3 on my list, and the one that I'm recommending to move forward with, basically does it all. The response of the respondents of the survey wanted weekly garbage pickup. They wanted cart collection, and this option will give them that. Essentially, it's weekly cart-based recycling. We would need to purchase the carts, of course. I'm recommending that we purchase another collection truck. This purchase not only helps because we're taking the recycling in-house, we've got a lot more responsibility for collection of materials in the community. We do a great job of collecting our solid waste on a daily basis. We're very dependable, reliable, and we need to maintain that same kind of service if we're going to bring the recycling in-house. The way I see to do that is to offer some redundancy in our fleet. Garbage trucks get a lot of use, and it's not kind use. They're dealing with a lot of hard conditions and difficult material to pick up. So we do get breakdowns. If we're going to have even more material that we're collecting, I really believe that we need some redundancy in our fleet so that if we do have a breakdown, we have options other than breaking our employees' backs trying to move these carts by hand. So this option would be to purchase a smaller side loading truck at a much less cost than the last large truck that we bought, and moving that collection in-house. So we're eliminating the collection contractor cost and the blue bags. We are purchasing carts again. The motor pool fund, the sanitation's portion of that fund does have the money to fund this purchase. Our contributions from that department would go up, and our O&M for vehicles would go up. But if you look at the analysis, they almost offset the carts, and the increased fleet costs offset the collection contractor and the bag purchases annually. And because of those cart purchases, a one-time deal, we actually end up going in the right direction on that whole scenario financially. So overall, the summary of this whole process, the program has been successful. It is my opinion that it needs to stay voluntary. We should not make it mandatory to keep our folks in Petersburg feeling good about the program and get their participation willingly instead of begrudgingly. That's all going to help make those numbers go up and get to that recycling rate that we need to achieve. We will continue, as a sanitation department, continue to quiz the recycling vendor on a regular basis to see if there are more materials that we can add to the waste or the recycling stream. That will help us in the long run make the numbers go in the right direction. The savings that we're seeing from sending materials as recyclables, $96 a ton over our solid waste, really speaks for itself. We need to do whatever we can to push material towards the recycling side. And that means, to me, increased public education efforts, offering continuous feedback to the community regarding the diversion rates and how to keep those rules clarified so that everything that they can put in the recycling bin goes in the recycling bin. Also, a more concerted effort by my department to work with the local businesses, maybe do some audits to find out what they're doing, what they believe to be the rules, and making sure that they're in line with what actually the rules are. That will help push numbers up. And we need to work with the harbor a little bit and see if we can do some more recycling in the harbor, offer some improvements there to get those numbers up. And right now, the diversion rate is not high enough to fully offset the program costs. So moving towards making some changes to address that are important to me. I think while the alternating collection option is possibly viable from an operational standpoint and definitely from a financial standpoint, it's not mandatory to do that to make the program solvent. I think if just moving the program in-house is the biggest factor in that equation. So again, the sanitation department is recommending option number 3, and hopefully if there's some consensus from the assembly on that option or any option, I can move to put that into the budget this year and hopefully move forward in a better direction for the community and this program. So with that,
Thanks, Carl.
I'm done.
Any questions? Cindy had a question?
I think I found the answer to my question. I thought when you originally talked about the program, you had said you wanted a 30% participation, and I was taking that as a per 30% of the households involved. But now
no.
it's looking like you're talking about weight comparisons.
That is a common question, and I'm glad you asked it, because yes, it is a weight comparison. It's the household participation is almost 100%. It's
and
right
that was
there.
my perception.
Yes, yeah. The program signups have been fantastic. It's a voluntary program, and practically everybody's volunteering to do it. So it's a very good thing from that. But it's the success of the program now is more tied to diverting everything that we possibly can to the recycling side from all those households.
And I guess just from my own personal observation, I would really like to see us try and figure out that harbor strategy for the harbor. And the other thing is during the Little Norway Festival and trying to capture garbage when we've got a lot of visitors in town and a lot of people throwing a lot of stuff away.
Yeah.
But I do think that the sanitation folks really work hard to clean that stuff as fast as they can, but there's a lot of people in town.
The festivals are really hard as far as the recycling end of things. We've gotten some comments about having more public recycling bins. And honestly, it's very frustrating because I would love to put them out there. As soon as I do, they fill up with garbage. People put the wrong things in the recycling bins. And because we don't sort here, I don't want to pay my people to sort trash.
Unless we had some that were designated for downtown only, that were glass only, paper only. I don't know if that would help.
It really doesn't.
I know, but I mean, they managed to do it at the Seattle airport.
No,
It
your
seems
point's
like we
well
could
taken.
find something.
Yeah, it's a tough one because the way we've treated a recycle bin that has it's half garbage, it's all garbage at that point. And so we went through the effort to try and get people to do the right thing,
Can
and they
you say
didn't.
that closer to the microphone so people can hear you say that?
Yes. If somebody sees a blue recycling cart, just put recycles in there. No food or anything like that.
Do you have a question, Bob?
Yeah, I have two of them. Of the businesses, in your experience, Carl, if we were to try to put more focus on getting more of the businesses to recycle, how much more increase in the amount that we recycle do you think we would have, one? And two, then, what difference in the cost would you think that would make?
It's really I'm not sure how to answer that question honestly, because it's very difficult for me to know how much they're not doing yet without having done an audit of those businesses. I'm not sure the amount that's not ending up on the recycling side, and so that when I say spend some time with the businesses, it's primarily to focus on, okay, what are you doing right now, and what could they be doing, to help out the recycling. And not only one of the questions I put in the survey is, what have you made any changes to your business that would help you and your customers recycle more? And the response to that was kind of, I'm not really sure, what we could do. That question is really more geared towards the restaurants or the food vendors in town that offer takeout or that kind of thing. Are they providing their products in styrofoam containers that we can't recycle? Are they providing it in something that's going to absorb grease, and at that point our recycling vendor doesn't really want it? Those are the things that I would like to focus on with the business, particularly the food-based businesses, to see if we can steer them in a direction that not only helps them, but us as well, and their customers. When they bring those things home, they can put them in the recycle bin instead of the garbage. As far as costs, because I don't really know what the volume is that can be achieved with the additional diversion, I can't really put a number on that yet. It's kind of a moving target for sure, but spending more time with the business community will definitely help
What we
clarify
need to
that.
do is kind of some dumpster diving, and I know that sounds really odd, but we have to send our sanitation guys down and get permission to go through their garbage and say, all right, did you realize that this could have been recycled? I mean, it becomes almost a business by business proposition, which takes huge amounts of time. But it's probably the only way we're going to get there.
Jay?
Carl, it says glass from the bars is still mostly landfilled. Is there a why behind that one? Meaning that that's most likely the largest producer of glass in terms of waste recycling?
There is a lot of glass that comes from the bars, and before this program, we removed the glass from the waste stream, but we didn't really recycle it per se because it's so heavy. We were removing it to take it out of the solid waste stream, so we didn't have to pay to dispose of it. Well, now that we're including glass in the commingled stream, we're seeing a lot less. We basically cut the amount of glass in half over the same amount of time that we're putting in the landfill. But when you have a dumpster of glass that you pick up at a bar, we take that back to the facility. It's very difficult to mix that glass in with the bags and have it actually stay in the stream to bale it. It ends up to be a humongous mess, and frankly it's a safety hazard for staff. And so that glass, although it's much less now than it was before, is now being landfilled basically because we can't get it into the recycling stream in a safe manner.
Gotcha. So a follow-up would be, does that glass apply to the percentages we're talking about in diversion rates? Or is that
It does.
part of that? Okay.
It does.
Thanks.
John?
Yeah, Carl, I always get stuck on one thing, so I still want to pitch the option two. One, because I've lived in an area and saw it work. And the other thing is that I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but going with option three, we're talking about the purchase of a new truck, fuel, separate staff person that would have to be hired to run that. So we'd be adding staff, truck, fuel, maintenance. And if we did it the every other week option, we wouldn't have to be adding staff, truck, et cetera. And that seems like it'd save well over $100,000. And the other thing, just because of my experience in this other area, I know by doing the every other week thing, force people to recycle because their garbage was getting too full. So they were more cautious about not just throwing things away, and they were recycling. So I just wanted to put my pitch in for that option.
Well, it's true that another truck would increase O&M costs. I think I estimated about $15,000 a year as far as for fuel and parts and upkeep on that truck. Right now, I'm not planning on hiring another person. We've got 4 staff members in sanitation right now. The one thing that may have to be done is to reduce the hours that the baler and landfill are actually open. If we open in the afternoon only, then all of that staff can spend time in the morning doing collection, and chances are we can get by 90% of the time without having to bring anybody else in. We do have a staff member at Public Works in the office that can go up to the baler and handle the scale, and so that is an option. But right now, part of this proposal doesn't include any new staff. Okay. Option 3, and so. Not to say that it might not be needed after we get going and, gee, this isn't going to work. And really the problem is vacation and sick leave. If nobody ever took any vacation and was never sick, we could do it, no problem. But we know that's not true, and if I have more than 2 guys or more than 1 guy away from work at a time, this scenario, we have trouble filling out the collection routes. So I guess part of this proposal should include the mention of changing hours at the baler to accommodate more focus on collection in the mornings.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Carl? Carl, looking at these 3 options, I agree that the third one would be the most kind to the user, getting collection every week. I think it might be a problem if garbage sat in the summertime in a dark can for 2 weeks at a time. Is there any thought to just picking up recycling every other week?
Well, we thought about that, and that's a good suggestion. It came up a couple times in the survey, and the problem with that is if we're going to pick up recycling every other week, we still need the resources to pick it up every week. So
Right.
if we're going to do it every other week and we have the resources to do it weekly, then why not just do it weekly?
I was
It's
just
not,
wondering if the operating twice a month instead of 4 times a month would, I know it would be less fuel. I mean, like,
Right.
anybody could figure that out, but,
it would.
so, just a thought. And,
No, yeah, I went through a lot of scenarios. That was one of them, and it still could be a possibility, but
So in my mind, do we have time before we have to take any action on this, or you're looking for some action immediately, aren't you?
we started the budget process early this year.
Right.
And so, yeah, the sooner I get a consensus on this issue, the sooner I'll be able to finalize my budgets
Well,
and bring them
if
back to the assembly.
Any assembly members willing to put forth a motion to adopt Carl's recommendation, or?
I would be willing to put forth a motion that we adopt option 3.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion's been made by member Lagadakis, seconded by member Strand to adopt Public Work Director Mr. Hagerman's recommendation for the recycling program to switch over to carts and do away with the bags and provide the necessary equipment to do so, I guess, which would be another small truck or. I didn't see anywhere in here, maybe I didn't read it that thoroughly, but is there a breakdown on the cost of the truck? And you estimated $15,000 more a month, but then it's almost $100,000 a year that we're going to save by not having to hire
Right.
someone to pick up the garbage and buy the bags.
The initial cost of the truck is about $210,000. That we contribute through its replacement, and which will be about $25,000 a year, and the O&M is probably going to be about $15,000 a year.
Okay.
So $40,000 a year are going to go towards that truck.
Okay. I guess we might be getting ahead of ourselves. Kathy, have you drawn up some kind of a motion?
Just to accept his recommendation for budget purposes and move forward with option 3.
Okay. Discussion. Nancy?
Does this mean we'll go to that, we're voting on moving to that process?
I have a question, do we have to do that in, I guess we're, does this require just one action?
I think Carl is looking for direction in budgeting.
Yeah, my take on it is that this allows me to move forward with a budget, but the assembly will still approve the final budget, and if it doesn't look good, when it comes back,
Right.
we'll figure out something else to do.
Okay, then I have a question for Carl.
Sure.
How big are these carts gonna be?
96 gallons.
And how big is that compared to my small garbage can?
It's about the podium size times 2.
Twice as big as the podium.
Yeah.
That's as big as my house. Is there a
It's
smaller one?
large. You can probably get a smaller one. The reason that I'm getting the large ones is because cardboard can often be
Right.
odd shaped and not
Right.
well contained in a bag. We found out.
Right.
So
And I
so
take my garbage up to the baler, or my cardboard up to the baler now for that very reason.
yes.
But I just wonder about the 96 gallon.
There definitely could be options.
Cindy? Excuse me.
And I realize I'm asking you to make a ballpark estimate, but are we trying to come up with a cart that would fit, one size fits all? I mean, how much of the waste stream is the odd-sized cardboard, or could we still say, okay, you're going to have to cart that stuff up to the baler instead of having carts that are so large? There are a lot of households where I think space, that could be a prohibitive size.
I agree. I think it could be a problem for some households, but I am trying to do a one-size-fits-all, being large enough to contain whatever recycling somebody might have. But as I just mentioned to Nancy, that I think there are options there, and we can buy some smaller carts to address those situations that don't require them. It won't make a difference in the collection. The truck will pick up either size equally as well. So
Bob?
Yeah, let me see if I can summarize what at least what I'm hearing is that you're proposing to go to that cart-based system do away with a contractor, which costs about $100,000. In the interim, we'd pick up a $215,000 or $250,000 truck, and we would change service to the folks out there. Am I reading, and I'm saying that right, Carl?
It's about $100,000 of our collection contractor and bag expense right now. The truck is $210,000 and about a $40,000 per year expense to maintain that and replace it when it's due for replacement. And yes, we would buy carts and we would change service to be Borough provided recycling collection.
And if we were to stay with the current system for one more year, could you gain any more savings by, or significant savings by doing more education and trying to push more people that way rather than to jump immediately?
We could. By hitting on the education and keeping the system the same, it gives us more time and more energy to focus on just maximizing the diversion as opposed to changing the system. There's a lot that goes into changing a system, but I think that taking that step and getting to the cart-based system as soon as possible will actually help with the diversion rate, because there are still a number of people that, while they're okay with the bags, they would rather see something that they don't have to bag up. There's a lot of pushback from people that don't like to see the items go in a bag that they know or feel isn't going to be recycled. It's kind of a catch-22 we've got going on with the recycling vendor, is that they don't want plastic bags to be sent to them right now, but we're putting everything in a plastic bag and sending it to them. So it's a lot of people have caught on to that and then don't like it. So it could be that when we move to carts, we'll see an increase in diversion just because of the ease and better method of service.
Thank you.
Jay?
Bear with me as I try to do some basic math. It's not my
That's where I was at.
So, ballpark 210 up front for truck plus 70 for carts. I'm good so far?
Yes.
Meaning 280-ish.
Right.
40 for yearly maintenance and cost of replacement. So take off the top, or meaning from there, about 5 to 6 years to be solvent-ish, giving the math of $60,000 savings, meaning 40 compared to the 100 we're paying now for a contractor. With me so far?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 60 into about 270 in the long run. So what is that? 5 years to make that program solvent just based on the initial investment? How am I doing on my basic math there? How'd I do?
It's pretty good. The only difference, the only thing I would point out is that the money to buy the truck is already in an account that have been paying into for a number of years, and it's already there to purchase a truck. So, although yes, you're right.
This is a cost investment, I guess I was looking at.
Right. Yeah. We don't. It'll come. That the truck purchase, you won't even see it in the sanitation budget. It'll be in the motor pool budget, because that's where the money is for vehicle replacement. So that is confusing because it's not all in one department. All those expenses are not coming out of one department. But it's good to mention.
So I wasn't way out in left field, though.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
I've got
Easy now. Thank you, Carl.
I was thinking along the same lines as Jay. What's the life expectancy of a garbage truck?
We try to get 10 years out of them.
Okay, so, and we're not going to be in the red. John?
And it's thinking along the finances here, and you can tell we're all just geniuses at the math here. But looking at the 270, 300,000 range, even though it doesn't come out of sanitation, it comes out of motor pool and it's there. We're still spending 210,000 for a truck, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that we need to move away from the bags and go with the containers. So that 70,000, I think, no matter what program we go to, that should, be a definite expense. The O&M and replacement of 40,000 a year, the 210 plus the 40, it's $250,000, and no guarantee that we wouldn't have to hire someone by going to the every week pickup. Still, I'd just rather see us saving that money rather than expending it. And I know it proposes an inconvenience, maybe smelly garbage or, with this every other week pickup or something, but I kind of reflected the thing Kathy sent us today about the state and it's building these roads that it can't pay for, and saying we really need to focus on what we need and not what we want. And to me, the need would be more fitting under the second option, and the third option would be more of a want. That was my only concern.
Okay, so I guess, any other discussion? Motion on the floor, I guess, is to let Carl proceed with putting in his budget this year to go with option 3 that he presented us here tonight in the recycling update. I think over the long run, it would save us money if we didn't. Hopefully, I would favor, half days for being able to go dump on the baler, to drive up and get rid of stuff if you didn't have to hire another employee. So I guess we'll all just have to see how it shakes out, and what the proposed budget looks like.
Right.
So, is there any other discussion? Kathy, will you call the roll on this one, please?
Jay,
Yes.
Bob,
No.
Cindy,
Yes.
John,
No.
Mark,
Yes.
Kurt's on, and Nancy.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 4-2 with members Haverlick and Lynn in opposition. So, that brings us on to the mayor's report. Pretty short one. Appointment to the vacancy on the Planning Commission. Mike Bangs has submitted a letter of interest to serve on the Planning Commission. If there are no objections from the Assembly, Mike will be appointed to one of the 2 existing vacancies on the commission. He's already on the Harbor Board, but we've checked into that, and a person can be on as many commissions as they want. So, AML Winter Legislative Conference. The conference will be held February 16th through the 18th at the Borough Hotel in Juneau. The winter conference is an ideal time to meet with our legislators and their staffs. I'll be attending the conference and encourage any other Assembly member that plans to attend make their reservations soon. I believe Cindy and Steve are going as well. I know for sure. So, excuse me. Thomas Bay Power Commission. Now that the operation and maintenance of Tyee Lake Hydro has been transferred to SEPA in response to our inquiry to Wrangell on what they would like to do with the Thomas Bay Power Commission, the City and Borough of Wrangell Assembly have expressed their preference for the commission to be an appointed advisory board. Wrangell has also expressed desire that provisions for the advisory board be spelled out in code. The clerks from both boroughs are working on a draft ordinance for presentation to the assemblies in the near future. So that's coming our way. I did have one bit of communication from the Merrill Sanford, the mayor of Juneau, and I didn't know if I would bring it up, but I will. He wanted to talk about the borough boundary. And I think what he wanted to do was get together with me and we talk about changing the borough boundary. And I told him I didn't think that the conversation was necessary. We'd wait and see what the courts had to do, and I hope that's the Assembly's feeling. We had a brief conversation with our attorney, and I could have talked to him according to the attorney, but I would have brought it before the Assembly first anyway. So anyway, I returned Merrill Sanford's call and told him we're just going to see how things shake out. So anyway, and that's it for Mayor's report. Brings us to the manager's report.
Let's see if I can do this without coughing.
Good luck.
Conduit installation for the drive-down dock is complete. The transformer will be set as soon as the site is brought to final grade, which is really close. Most of the upland work is winding down thanks to Rock and Road. And we're just kind of waiting on getting the final gravel covering down there. Past week, the next 3 float sections have arrived, dropped off at AML, and then Tamaco has bolted them together waiting for the next shipment. And Tamaco has attached the rails on the approach dock as they wait for the float sections to arrive. Power & Light is proposing the addition of a new capital project to add a high voltage switch immediately upstream of PFI. This is an issue to kind of help the system be a little more reliable and aid in getting the power back on when there's an outage right there. Project would include replacement of the overhead primary metering installation, which is very close to the school. So again, we're just scoping this out at this point, and we'll have more information later to find out. You know, bring it to the assembly when we get to that point. Just huge thank you to everybody, all the sponsors and volunteers who made Breakfast with Santa a huge hit this year. It was attended by over 100 families. The harbor security fire vessel electrical upgrade was successfully bid out, with Bear Electric coming in as the apparent low bidder at just over $2,000. We've given Bear Electric the notice of award and notice to proceed on 12/16, and with a contract completion date of January 15th. Thanks to Randy Holmgren and the police department who did the bulk of the work on that. It was a Homeland Security grant that funded that. The winch on the bow door ramp of that same vessel is in the process of getting replaced. The harbor staff noticed that the winch was frozen during a training exercise, and so they have gotten that. They're in the process of fixing that. They also wanted to congratulate Scott Hershey, as he is now officially certified as a harbor security vessel operator. It gives us a little more flexibility in how that boat is used. The number 2 crane has been shipped to Maximum Performance in Seattle. The delivery scheduled to be in Seattle somewhere around December 23rd, 24th. They'll take a look at the issues and then get back in touch with us to get permission to fix the things and start the rebuild. Thanks to the street crew and the wastewater staff, the force main at Hungry Point. I think all of us saw some pictures of that. It was a messy job. They did a really good job getting it done, and also thanks to the public who kind of worked around us while we had parts of that road broken down. Carl's looking at more than likely a future project. The pipe was severely corroded, and it looks like that is going to be throughout that fourth main. So it looks like it's going to be something we're going to have to fix long term, and maybe find something that's a little less saltwater, more saltwater resistant. The remainder of the Rasmussen Bridge work will not be completed this winter. Alaska DOT will put off their inspection until the spring. We had to pull staff off of this to handle the force main break, so we could not get it done. South Nordic Haugen Drive project has been advertised by DOT. Bids are due to DOT by December 18th. Work is scheduled to begin ASAP in the spring and will likely continue through 15 and 16 construction seasons. Contractors have been visiting and talking to Public Works about the planned work. Do we know if the walking trail made it in there, Carl?
It's in the project for sure, and the bid was postponed. It's actually tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Good.
Thank you. With Christmas and New Year's being on Thursdays this year, the baler and garbage pickup schedule is being adjusted to make sure all the collection is handled as efficiently as possible. This has resulted in some baler and landfill closures. I think they've been published everywhere, but the baler landfill will be closed from December 24th through the 26th. We'll reopen on the 28th. Wednesday, the 24th, garbage and recycling customers are requested to set out their carts and bags by 6 a.m. for an early pickup. And Christmas Day, recycling and garbage routes will be picked up on Friday, December 26th. Baylor Landfill will also be closed on the 1st and 2nd of January, reopen on the 4th as normal, and then Thursdays, recycling and garbage routes will be picked up on Friday, January 2nd. Carl's been working with Southeast Alaska Solid Waste Authority on an RFP solicitation for our scrap metal for the whole region. Process was recently completed, and CSWA announced that the Pool Engineering of Ketchikan is the preferred vendor for the regional scrap metal removal and sale. CSWA will be working with Pool to contract their services for all of the members and other interested municipalities and private companies. The contract will allow Pool to work with CSWA members for separation and preparation of the scrap metal and to try to maximize the value of that scrap. They'll schedule collection events on an annual basis and offer pricing to the scrap owners based on current market values. Contract will be forwarded to the Assembly for approval after the terms and conditions are settled. I want to thank Matt Briner for decking out the library with Christmas lights this year, and as well as the tree. And real special thanks to Gerald Lynn. This is the second year, I believe, he has donated the Christmas tree to us. So even with the wonderful lights, it wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for such a really good tree. And so again, thanks to Gerald in that as well. The library landscaping, we're trying for the third time. Request for proposal is currently being advertised for the earthwork and hardscape improvements. The RFP is available on the Borough website. Deadline for submission is January 30th at 2 p.m. I don't know if we're going to have any takers this time either, but we're hoping. University of Alaska has secured a Rasmussen Foundation grant on behalf of the library to cover roughly half the cost, $14,000, of the library's upcoming migration to a consortium-based automation system hosted by the university. Migration is planned for early March. This allows us to be intertied to these other libraries and make sharing of information a lot easier. Contractors with Agnew Beck and Moffitt Nichols were in town last week, met with residents, including high school students and seniors, Harbor Board, health and wellness agencies, borough staff, PEDC, Land Selection Committee, toured harbor and borough facilities, and basically just a big kickoff for the comprehensive plan process, gathering information. Did a couple of open houses, with the big one being Thursday night, the 11th, and I don't have an update on the surveys, but we're well over 125 community surveys. They would like to get 10% of the population, so we're still encouraging people to fill in those surveys if they have not done it as of yet. Hard copies here, as well as electronic on the website, Borough's website. The survey is open until January 16th. Joe Bertignoli is working with the contractors in Mountain View Manor for replacement of the floor and getting the new refrigerator in there. Project has been delayed until January because of the contractor's schedule. They couldn't get in there to work. And one of our ongoing challenges is finding contractors that are available to work on stuff. I want to congratulate Sheilyn. She just celebrated her 10th year anniversary at Mountain View Manor, so if you happen to see her, tell her congratulations. And the residents up at the manor have been very busy this Christmas season. Parties, gift exchanges, attending the Nutcracker dance, the recital, enjoying different groups who've come up there caroling and spreading the Christmas cheer. Just kind of a big shout out to the whole community for supporting our elders and making their Christmas season up there really nice. So thanks to the staff up there as well as the community members who've gotten involved in that. And that's it.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions of the manager on his report?
I have
Cindy.
just a clarification point, because you pointed it out, that overhead primary metering installation. Is there some significance to being near the school, or are you just saying that's where it's located?
That's where it's located, and it concerns us because of a timing issue. We don't want to work on that when that's fairly high voltage there.
Okay.
So if we get to
That
the
makes
point where we
sense.
have to do this, scheduling it will be interesting. We'll want to do it when probably school's out, or we start putting line trucks down there. We don't want to block off school buses and all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
it's.
Any other questions of Steve?
I did have one other
Cindy?
point, because several people have asked me where to find the survey. If you go to the Borough website, on the right-hand side, it talks about the comprehensive plan. If you scroll down in big letters, it says, "Take our survey," and you can go there and take the survey.
Thank you very much.
It's findable.
Really encourage people to do it. It takes 20 minutes, give or take, but it's maybe the best way at this point to get information in the hands of the consultants, who right now are in the information gathering stage. If the survey is a great tool for telling them where they need to ask more questions. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Doesn't appear like it, so we'll move on to unfinished business. First item is ordinance 2014-22. It's the second reading, an ordinance providing for the cutting of green trees on borough land and updating language to reflect borough incorporation. I'd entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2014-22 in its second reading.
So moved.
Moved by member Strand, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by member Graver to adopt this ordinance. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to make 3 minor changes to this. Under the fine schedule on 1.16.030, on that section where it
Okay, let me-
says, if you've got there,
1.16030.
030, right at the very end there, the fine schedule, where it says, the following citation and penalty is added to the fine schedule. And I'd like to add in 1.16, I'd like to refer it back to the fine schedule we have in, I had it here in my hand here, just hold a second. The fine schedule is 1.16030 is what I'd like to add in 1.16030 after schedule, so that this then refers back to the fine schedule we have for other fines.
And where's that listed in our ordinance?
And that's listed in 1.16030. That's the fine schedule for all other things we have in the borough.
And so what monetary value would be?
Well,
I
that,
don't have the information in front of me.
yeah, it has it right here, but what I want to do is then also put it back under this schedule, the other schedule, if that makes sense to you.
So what would be in 2 places, or?
Well, that's where,
Kathy,
No, it's only going in 1.16030.
yeah, that's
where it would be.
that's where I want to put, it needs to be put in there, yes.
So, but
And you're-
you wanted the section above that to clarify that.
Yes, exactly, Kathy.
Okay.
And
so how would this amendment we're discussing read? Because that's what we're looking at as an amendment to the motion to
yes,
adopt this ordinance in its second reading.
well, how would you propose to put it, Kathy?
We could just, a person who violates a provision of this chapter shall be guilty of a violation, I'd say as expressed in, and put that
Yes,
section in.
yes.
That's what you want to do.
Yes,
Okay.
fine, thank you.
Okay, does everybody understand what we're doing with this amendment?
Yeah.
Any discussion on the motion to amend it and add that under 3.16090, the violation, they're going to add some language in there under violation that says will be referred to the fine schedule of 1.16030. I believe that's what we want, right?
And
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if there's, I don't think you have to take a vote on that, see, that was just to clarify.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That answers my question.
All right. I just like to try to follow the rules if there are rules.
And I have one more question on it. Where you say they're illegally cut tree, does that mean that if a person goes out there and cuts 30 trees or 10 trees, whatever, are we talking about a $500 fine for each tree or for all the trees together? Is the question I have. In other words, should we be adding the word each in front of illegally cut tree?
That is a very good question. It's not addressed, but I think the intention was that it would be each tree.
Okay. I would propose we add that verbiage in there.
And you know what section's that?
That's the same,
Per in front of illegal cut.
yes,
Okay.
just add each in
Each
front of
tree.
that, yes.
Okay. Is that it for changes,
Yes,
Bob?
thank you.
Okay, well, I guess we don't have to vote on that as an amendment either, it's just a change in language, so. Any more discussion on this ordinance? In its second reading? Seeing none, we'll have the clerk call the roll on ordinance 2014-22 in its second reading as modified.
Nancy,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes,
Cindy,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
Okay, passes 6-0. And that brings us to new business, Resolution 2014-22, A resolution approving the terms and conditions of the sale of a 1987 Caterpillar road grader to Petersburg Indian Association for the total price of $110,000 or $100,000. We tried to make a couple more bucks there. Entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2014-22.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Member Lynn, seconded by Member Logadakis to approve ordinance or resolution 2014-22. Any discussion?
Question for Carl.
Excuse me.
You know, it says selling it for 100,000. What's the value of it? Like appraised, assessed value. You know what I mean?
Sliding scale, a used piece of equipment like that will go for between 100 and up to 150, 160,000. So I believe that the tribe is getting a good deal on this, but the whole scenario for replacing our existing grader was based on the fact that we would get a substantial amount. We hardly ever, this is pretty rare that we get this amount of money for any of our used equipment. Generally, if we don't trade it in at a reduced cost to the manufacturers, it sits around until we find somebody to take it off our hands for much less than what we want. And so this situation is in my opinion, is a really good one. It provides a significant return on our investment of that grader. It provides a unit to the tribe who is getting more and more into road maintenance and doing positive things around the community. So it may be worth more on the open market, but it's a very good thing for Petersburg to do this sale.
Thank you, Carl.
Any other discussion on this resolution? Excuse me, resolution? Clerk, call the roll.
Nancy,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 6-0. Resolution 2014-22 is approved. Brings us to resolution 2014-23, a resolution dedicating $950,730 of property development fund money toward the renovation of the municipal building complex, police station, jail, and administration / finance office project. Entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So move.
Is there a second? Moved by Member Strand, seconded by Member Lynn to approve resolution 2014-23. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to see down under the fourth whereas, where we say during the last 2 fiscal years, the borough has received dedicated state funds to put toward the police / jail project. And here I would like to make a change and put in there the plans in hand to construct the project. And the reason I say that is after when I first went through this and read it, it didn't come across to me that we were shovel ready to do a project, and we really are within months is what I understand. And what I'd like to make very apparent is that we are shovel ready. We're ready to go if you're willing to fund it. And I would just propose we add in there and make a change and just add the plans in hand to construct the project. That we have the plans in hand, we're ready to construct.
So your plans, do you mean the set of plans, or do you mean
No, go ahead.
the funding available?
No, we have the plans. We've done everything necessary right now.
The
To go to
design,
contract
right,
with
okay,
it.
right.
That's what I want to.
Oh, okay.
I want to get across.
So, I don't see any problem with changing the wording. Any other members have an opposition?
About is that just taking out accomplish the several preliminary tasks and just change it to what you have in the plans?
Yes, just take out accomplish several preliminary plans necessary to advance the project, and in place of it, I would put and have the plans in hand to construct the project.
Okay.
And just for full
Steve,
disclosure purposes, those plans we will have by the time this is sent to the legislature, they'll be in hand. I don't have them as of this
Right.
moment, but
Yeah.
we basically, on the conversation with the architect, is Kelly gets back the 5th. Corey's planning a trip here shortly thereafterwards, and we will make some final tweaks to him, and then he's going to be ready to submit those to the assembly either the second meeting in January or right around that time frame. So that's, so by the time this goes to the legislature,
Right.
it will be done.
Okay, any more discussion on resolution 2014-23? The clerk call the roll.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, communications. Excuse me, I appear to be losing my voice, too much talking at one time here. We have a letter from Elaine Bussy Floyd, Director of Environmental Health. It's in regards to pesticides and herbicides. We thought we were going to have a meeting with DEC. They were going to come down, but it doesn't appear like it. They just sent us what their policy was and a little poop sheet here on how the pesticide control program worked, and didn't mention a visit, so that must be off the horizon here. Any comments on that from the assembly? What, any direction now? We have a committee formed, right, to draft a resolution or an ordinance, so, and that committee is going to have something for us. When was the deadline on that, or was there a deadline? None.
There was no
Pick
deadline.
a
We were
deadline,
just
but we
trying to
picked a
get,
date.
find a time we could all get
Okay,
together.
so that's where we're at with that. Any other comments on the letter?
So as a point of clarification, the brochure we were sent is in lieu of them coming down to discuss it publicly with us. That's what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah,
Appears to be what they're saying.
yeah. And have we heard anything more from Alita Buss from Senator Egan's office on this? Last I talked to her was November 1st.
I've not heard a word.
So,
Kathy, have you heard
No,
anything?
I copied her with what I sent to you guys, but I haven't heard from her again.
okay, so you sent her a copy of this letter that we got. All right, thanks. One other thing I should have, I kind of overlooked was this letter from Terry Miller. We had the public hearing on the purchasing the land at Papke's Ceduc subdivision. I'd like to let Mr. Miller know, and everybody else, that we did get a letter. His letter is in support of the borough acquiring those lots, and that'll be added to the record for public hearing. You'll put that in there, Kathy, then? Thank you. Anybody else have any communications they'd like to relay? Don't see none. Assembly discussion items. Recognitions, any recognitions? John?
Mayor, I'd like to recognize Jonathan Christ Tompkins. You know, he was here at the beginning of the meeting, and I guess he's performing later at the Lutheran Church, so he had to leave. But really appreciate a representative coming to town and spending, you know, not just a couple hours here, but he's pretty much spending about a week at his own expense to talk to people in our town and find out what our needs are in preparation for his legislative sessions, and I greatly appreciate that.
And play the cello as well.
Yes.
Any other recognitions this evening? Seeing none. Another discussion item is participating in mental health land trust auction. And for some reason, it didn't come through on our iPads, but there's a little bit more text here. It is hoped that this discussion will provide a consensus for the staff in which to formulate a formal resolution on whether or not the borough will participate in the land auction. Formal action of the assembly is tentatively scheduled for the second meeting in January. Residents may continue to submit their written opinions to the clerk's office until January 20th. So we still have another month, basically, before we address it as an assembly.
Mr. Mayor, may I comment? on
Yeah.
that? I guess I would just encourage any and all members of the public to either print out a letter and send it, or take the time to email us one, and regardless of what your views on the matter are, please share them with us. Thank you.
Yeah, public input is important. It's better to get everybody's opinion before we make a decision on something than to, you know,
Indeed.
go the other route. Okay. Borough services and our borough service areas. This item's on our agenda still. Is there any discussion about that this evening? Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Yeah, no one wants to stay?